Hey everybody, it's Babette Haggerty with Haggerty Dog Training, and I just want to welcome you to our latest episode of our Thursday Q&A. We're excited to have you. We started a trick class this week, and it's so exciting. The dogs are going to have so much fun over the coming weeks. They're all pursuing their AKC Novice Trick Dog title. So we're going to have a lot of fun with that. Maria actually started her basic obedience class last Saturday, which is in person. We have a basic obedience class coming out via Zoom next in 2 weeks. So there are a lot of people excited to do the Zoom training. We have people coming from Virginia and Florida. Well, they're not coming here. They're just doing it via Zoom. And we did that a lot over the pandemic. And the Zoom training has really taken off. People love it. And you know what? It's a whole lot more effective than I would have guessed. 20 years ago, if you said to me, Babette, you'll be training dogs via Zoom in 20 years, 10 years, I would have said, no way, you can't do it. It can be done. It forces us to become better dog trainers, but it can be done. And it's a lot of fun. And it's great for people who are inside or just live far away and they just want Haggerty dog training, but they just, can't get to us because we're far. So anyway, we had some great questions come in this week. I want to get right to it. I hope you're all healthy and happy and having a great week. All right, first question. So my dog has started stealing things off the counter and the table, such as napkins. She likes to take our napkins. We read that trading the bad thing for a good thing, such as a bone or a toy, will help her give up the bad thing. We started doing this, and now it seems like she has learned to take things to trade them for bones. I can take whatever it is from her, and she does give it up. But the larger issue is that she growls at my fiance if she has something she doesn't want to give up. She doesn't want to give her treats, so she doesn't trade with her. It seems like the two of us are at different stages with her. She respects me and will give up the thing without a treat, but she growls at my fiance if she tries to get it without a treat. Are we rewarding her for bad behavior? And what is the best way to train her to not take things? And what is the best solution from getting them from her if she is growling? All right, so we have a few problems here. Your dog should not be growling at you. That's not a good thing. I know this dog, and I'll be seeing this dog next week, so we're going to get more into the nitty-gritty of that. However, you can't let your dog do that. Now, I'm going to break this down. She tries to steal her napkins. We read that trading the bad thing for a good thing, such as a bone or a toy, will help her give up the bad thing. I'm going to tell you right now, guys, stay off the internet. You can watch my videos, but stay off the internet because there's only one thing two trainers can agree on, and that's what the third one is doing wrong. So if you go on, just like if you go on and you Google, the COVID vaccine, you're going to hear, don't get the vaccine, get the vaccine, don't get the vaccine, get the vaccine. This is why you're going to die, you're going to live, blah, 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 blah. You're going to get a tons of different pieces of advice and opinions. And we all know what happens when we listen to people's opinions. Now, I'm not telling you that, trading is is the wrong answer, but here at Haggerty Dog Training, we don't agree with it. For a lot of reasons, but I'm going to keep this simple for you guys at home that are trying to train your dogs at home. It has to do with timing, and there's a lot of stuff that needs to get done so that this doesn't happen at all. But what can happen is if you tell your dog, here, you can have, the hairbrush, but I'll give you a treat if you get rid of the hairbrush, you're actually rewarding the dog for the bad behavior. It is our belief, and experience has proven, you have to correct the behavior. They have to learn drop it. That's a command that they need to be taught, and every dog that comes through our obedience training classes here does learn to drop things on command. That's super important. So if your dog ends up learning that every time I pick up something I'm not supposed to have, I get a treat, then they're going to say all the time, like, oh, I'm picking up the shoe, I'm picking up the napkin, I'm picking this up because this is how I get a treat. Now, dogs really are not stupid creatures. My dad used to say, hey, your dog is the one who is at home while you're at work. Well, maybe that's not true this year or last year. But if your dog's the one at home running the show and you're the one who's out there working, paying the bills, then who's the smart one in that relationship? Your dog's living off of you rent-free. So I'm going to tell you a little story which will I think really illustrate how I don't want to use the word dangerous, how treats can be misused. And hey, Jordan, thanks for chiming in. And hey, Wagging Tails, I'm glad you're here. Thanks for joining us. Many, many years ago, I had a lady who called me up and she had a little black toy poodle. And she calls me up and she said, my dog just keeps going to the bathroom outside. Usually people call me because their dog's going to the bathroom inside, but no, my dog is going outside. And I said, well, go to the vet, urinary tract infection, blood work. No, we've been to the vet, we've done this, we've done that, blah, blah, blah. The vet told me to call you. And we're going back and forth for a few minutes. I'm thinking, there's something medically wrong with this dog. I asked her a few more questions. No. My vet said it's behavioral. Who's your vet? She told me who the vet was. I was like, okay, well, I know that vet. He's a good vet. He's not crazy. So, okay. No idea what I was going to walk into. So I get to her house. I'm there just a couple of minutes. The dog goes running to the back door, scratches at the door. She's like, see, look. She opens up the door. The dog runs outside. She squats. Woman gives her a treat. Okay. Dog comes back in. Not even 2 minutes later, dog goes back to the door, scratches at the door. The woman opens up the door. The dog goes running out, squats. Owner gives her a treat. So I'm like, okay, I think I know what's happening here. I pick up the dog. I turned her over. It was a girl. She was dry. She was absolutely dry. That little toy poodles are really smart. Poodles are way smarter than most people realize. That little toy poodle learned if she scratches at the door is going to open. If she runs outside, she's going to squat. And that squatting is going to get her a treat. That dog was not going to the bathroom every 15 minutes like the owner thought. The dog learned how to ask for the treat. I want a treat. I squat. I get a treat. So the owner became the Pez dispenser. It's really what happened. So, that's one reason why you have to be careful, rewarding with treats, trading forbidden objects for a treat, because it can very easily backfire and most owners don't realize it. Now I want to further address this issue here. I can take whatever it is from her and she does give it up, but the larger issue is that she growls at my fiance if she has something she doesn't want to give up. Okay. Clearly she respects you more than your fiance. So we have to work with your fiance. We have to teach your dog that she is not allowed to do these things to your fiance. She doesn't get to growl at your fiance and get her own way. I have a question here from John. Is that a picture of Muffin behind you? Yes, that's my Muffin. That was, John remembers Muffin. She was like the greatest golden retriever ever. Everything's reversed here. So if I go this way, I don't know which way I'm unblocking it. But yeah, that was Muffin. She's up there with Lady, John's German Shepherd. That was a lovely, lovely dog so many years ago. Love you too. I'm so glad you're here. All right. So now back to growling at the fiance. We have to work on your fiance because you cannot let your dog, and this goes for anybody. This is not just this dog in particular. Your dog cannot learn that if they growl at somebody in the house, they're going to get their own way. And the biggest mistake people make is like, oh my God, the dog's growling. I'm just, okay, all right, I'm going to give you what you want. You can't do that. You can't do that because the dog is going to learn to growl. Then he's going to learn to growl and snap. And then he's going to learn to growl and snap and bite. So it can snowball. So if your dog is growling at you or anybody else in your house, that has to stop now, immediately. So I say to this particular dog's owner, and I don't want to call them out, and hopefully they're on here, that is something we're going to have to work on with your fiance. And, folks, I'm going to tell you right now, if you're afraid of your dog, that's not a good thing. Sometimes it's warranted and sometimes it's not. But if you're living in a situation where your dog is running the show, I had somebody yesterday that had called me. They wanted us to train their dog. And they sent me the pictures of the multiple bites this dog has given to the two owners in the home. And this is a very large dog, and these are much older people. And, someone's going to get hurt. And this dog started a long time ago. They had gotten the dog from another family, and the dog had bitten a kid actually in the face. So this dog along the road, along his life has learned if I growl and snap and bite, I get my way. And that's what's happened with these owners. They told us, we don't sit on the sofa. When he growls at us, we just don't sit on the sofa. Okay, that's not good. And that's something that has to be addressed professionally with a good professional. You can find one at the International Association of Canine Professionals. So again, to answer the question, that was my long answer to sort of a short question is, teach your dog drop it, teach your dog leave it, teach your dog to out, to give you something on command. It shouldn't be a swap for a treat, because then you're just opening yourself up to other problems. Okay, and then I had another question here. All right, sometimes I feel like my dog is getting too far ahead of me. How do I know when she's too far ahead of me? Your left leg should be somewhere between your dog's head and the shoulder. It also depends on the dog. It also depends on the pace. Oh, you're very welcome. Thank you, Jordan. Thanks for watching. I'm glad you're here. If your dog, you want your dog to walk to your pace. Now, some people say, well, I don't care if my dog is right at my left-hand side. That's okay. When we're training, the stricter we are in our obedience training and our obedience skills, the better your dog is going to be later on when you decide to just go for a loose leash walk. It transcends into that loose leash walking. So the more structure you give your dog in the beginning, the better off you are at the end of the day. Because anybody who finishes obedience classes, whether it's a group class, private lessons, they send their dog to boarding and training, you're going to become more slack, and you're going to allow your dog to have less boundaries, so to speak, than they did in training. And the stricter you are in training, the better off you're going to be. Because when you slack off, it's not going to be that great of a slack off. I hope that makes sense. So you really want your dog back to the left-hand side, and they really need to be walking at your pace. They shouldn't be like speeding you up. You shouldn't be walking so fast that you have to keep up with your dog, or walking slowly. You know, I tell people here all the time, like, walk to your pace, walk to your pace, walk to your pace. The other thing I tell owners all the time is right arm down and relax and breathe, breathe, breathe. I'm putting together a video series on relaxation techniques. I'm going to incorporate some yoga and pranayama work, which is breath work, to help with obedience training. Even if you don't want to be a yogi, that's okay too. All right. So, and then the other thing I want to talk about is, this is something that came up a few times this week. You have to make every moment a training moment. For example, we see it all the time. Dogs will come here for our day school program, and the owners will come to drop off the dog. The dog doesn't have the training collar on. The dog doesn't have the leash on. If they're coming for private lessons, they let the dog drag them to the front door. No. Your dog is in the car. Before you open the door, you tell your dog, stay. You open up the car door. You close. You make your dog come out. You make your dog sit. You tell your dog, stay. You close the door. You heel your dog to the door. You make them sit and stay at the door. It's not like, okay, drag me to the front door, drag me to the front door. Oh, okay, now the teacher's here. Now we have to behave. Incorporate these skills in everything. Just like when you go to feed your dog, make them sit, make them stay. When you're opening up the front door to, get the UPS package, put them in a sit, tell them to go to their bed, go to your bed, stay. So they learn not to charge that front door. That's super important. Make every opportunity a training opportunity, not just those 15, 20 minutes when you're drilling your dogs, not just when you're coming to class. The more you work the dog, the better off you're going to be. And a lot of people say to me, they say, I don't care about the healing. I don't care about the sit stay. He doesn't have to sit stay for 3 minutes. I don't care about that. The more skills you give your dog, the better off you're going to be. And what ends up happening is you're challenging your dog mentally, not just physically and emotionally. When you challenge your dog and you teach them to use their mind, they become calmer. I have an owner. She's so cute. I love her dearly. And I've had lots of owners tell me this. But she was one of our first canine enrichment students. She was one of our first day school students when we opened this facility. And she was one of our canine enrichment students. And she sent me a text one night with her dog like sacked out on her back, like tongue hanging out, exhausted. And she said, what did you do to my dog? She said, usually when I bring Brandy home, I have to walk Brandy around 2 times around the block when I bring her back from daycare. She was with you for 1 day and she's completely exhausted, and I can't even get her up to take her for a walk. And the reason why Brandy was so exhausted is because we stimulated her mentally, not just physically and not just emotionally. That mental stimulation. And I tell people, I don't know about you, but when I balance my checkbook, like when I'm done, I'm exhausted. I'm like ready for a nap. I'm like, oh my God, I couldn't find that $10. Where was that $10? Because I was using my mind. I think I'm more exhausted than when I used to go running a lot or when I would go running or when I work out because I'm using my brain. It stimulates them and it tires them out. And tired dogs are good dogs. So one of the questions John has is, what are your thoughts on aggressive breeds, Rots, Shepherds, etc.? Are there truly aggressive breeds? Is it nature or nurture? That's a very good question. It's not a simple answer, and there are exceptions to every single rule. There are dogs that are better for protection work. Protection meaning protecting our army bases, mine detection, which isn't really protection, but often you'll find those dogs have been trained in bite work, etc. Police dogs. You know, just because a dog is a police dog or a German Shepherd doesn't mean that they're an aggressive dog. A lot of it is training. You do have some dogs that are just bad seeds. You know, I have had dogs over the years that were not your typical aggressive dogs. They've been other breeds of dogs that you think that you equate to perfect family dog, and they're not. As a matter of fact, that dog I was just referencing with the older people, that's a breed. I'm not going to say the breed, but it is a breed that you would not typically consider to be an aggressive breed. You know, some dogs are just bad seeds. You know, Ted Bundy was lovely when he wasn't killing people, and he was quite charming, you know, until he killed you. And there are just some bad seeds out there, and there are some dogs that are bad seeds. Now, is it always nature versus nurture? I think quite often it's a combination. I remember last year we had a dog that we told them very politely that we could not help them. And we referred them to somebody else. And this dog had started out same way as some of these other dogs we talked about earlier today, growling, snapping, not letting the owners get things, play keep away, and the owners would just back off. Well, a year or so goes by, the dog started biting them hard, doing some damage. And they finally came for training. The thing with that dog is that dog became so emboldened and he got so used to bossing dogs around, or bossing the people around, that if I told him what to do, and it would have been something as simple as sit, he was coming after me. And he was not going to let up, and he was not backing down to anybody because no one's ever told him no before. And I referred them to somebody else. I don't think they ever called that person. I'm pretty sure that they did not. And truth be told, I don't know what happened with that dog. I have to wonder, am I going to read about that dog in the paper one day? I hope I don't. Yeah, there's some dogs that are just bad seeds. And a lot of times it's because people don't stop the problem. For example, the older couple that I keep going back to with this breed that you wouldn't think of being typically an aggressive breed, came from a house with kids, and the dog bit the kid in the face. Now, I have no idea on the history. You know, that's all I know. That's all I have the information on. I'm sure that dog had given the signs before biting the kid in the face. I don't know if the kid was mean to the dog. I don't know if the dog was protecting itself. I don't know if the dog, learned this behavior. But what ended up happening was the dog went from home, ended up at this home, which was either at least the second, if not the third home. And no one ever did anything about it. No one ever told the dog, hey, dude, you can't do this anymore. It's not right. So the dogs become emboldened. I have met a couple of dogs, more than a couple of dogs over the years at like 8-9 weeks of age. And I think, oh, this dog's got to go back to the breeder. That has been very rare. I can't remember. I do remember about 2 years ago, I had a little dog that came in, and it wasn't even so much that the dog needed to go back to the breeder because it was nasty. It was just not going to be the service dog they wanted. So you do get dogs that are born as, just bad seed. But if you work with them, and I've had quite a few dogs over the years, they come to me early enough, and we turn those dogs around, and it takes time and it takes patience. And I love Rotties. You can see my little Lily over there, and Shepherds, and those are the dogs that get the bad rap. And are there people that make them mean? There are people who do things wrong, sometimes purposely and sometimes not purposely. Okay. So I pontificated for a while, and I'm running short on time. I want to get through all of these questions. Okay. So tug of war. All right. So question came up, should I not be playing tug of war with my dog? Well, that's an excellent question. You know, a lot of people will say, oh, tug of war is mean. You know, you shouldn't be playing tug of war with your dog. Actually, tug of war is a great game for puppies. However, you need to teach the dog to stop tugging when you tell it to stop tugging. And it could be as simple as not pulling on the tug anymore. You know, as a matter of fact, Muffin behind me, she knew like if you stop pulling and you'd stay still, she had to let go. And that's how we train the dogs here. Tugging is a great outlet for dogs. It's also a great precursor to a lot of tricks. Like men's favorite trick is go get me a beer out of the refrigerator. We need the dog to tug, open that refrigerator. So teaching them to tug is not a bad thing. And it's great play for them. However, they need to learn to stop. They can't learn to just tug everything they want whenever they want. That's super important. So that's something you want to teach them. I think I might have gone through all of the questions. Okay. I had somebody who sent me a video this week, and she's saying to me, you know, my dog's all over the place. She's freaked out, you know, and there were a few things that jumped out at me. And I said to the owner, I said, look, I said, your dog's not as freaked out as you think she is. You're more freaked out than she is. You keep talking to the dog, and you're kind of like in the problem, in the sense of like, oh my God, Kona, stop. Oh my God, Kona, stop. Sit. And she just kept shooting commands at this dog. And the dog wasn't really hearing her because the dog was a little nervous with cars and trucks going by. And the dog does need to be worked on that. But a lot of times your dog is not as bad as you think it is. And sometimes you have to give yourself a break. Take a deep breath. And sometimes it's better to go for a walk without the dog to give yourself a chance to cool down, calm down, and just relax. Because let's face it, we live in a tense world. We want immediate gratification. It's amazing to me how much dog owners have changed over the last 30-something years, as long as I've been training dogs professionally, is that owners expect so much from their dog. It's not uncommon where we have an owner that comes in, you know, get their dog, you know, the first 2 days. Well, how's he doing off leash? Well, he's not even trained on leash yet. Like, let's do one step at a time. Just like when we were kids, we had to learn to add and subtract. We had to figure out what 2 + 2 was before I could figure out what 2 × 2 was, and before I could figure out what the square root of 25 was. Same thing with your dog. It's one step at a time, and it's a process, and you have to lay the foundation. You can't expect your dog to be doing everything overnight. And a lot of these are behaviors that your dog has been learning for 6 months, 9 months, a year, 2 years if it's a rescue dog maybe. You can't expect those problems to just go away like, okay, all gone, your problems are gone. It's not how it works. We don't get to wave the wand and get perfect dog. And some dogs take longer than others. You know, and think of it this way. You know, think about growing up, going to school. You know, Harvard was not, you know, fighting with Princeton to have me, because I wasn't as good as some other of my friends that, you know, Princeton was like, yeah, here's the money and here's your MBA. And Harvard was like, yeah, and come here for law school. They were just smarter. They were probably harder workers too. But my whole point is, don't expect more than your dog is not necessarily capable of, but don't put unreasonable expectations on your dog. And, you know, believe me, your dog is way smarter than you think, but you have to take your time in the sense of training. Like, yes, you want to be efficient. Yes, you want your results. And yes, you want to stop the problems as quickly as possible. But don't expect your dog to get everything like right away, because they're just not. They're just not. You know, they're dogs, they're animals, they're creatures, and they all excel at different levels and different, rather, paces than other dogs. So that was one thing I was telling her, you know, quit talking to her so much, because it becomes white noise. You know, your dog's not hearing you. Your dog doesn't even know what sit and stay means. And you're saying, sit. Well, which sit did you mean? You have to teach the dog that it's the first sit, not the 10th, not the 20th. It's sit. So if your dog, remember one thing, if your dog is not listening to you, chances are it's you. Hate to say it, but that's the reality. Dogs want to please. And when you take the time to train them and teach them things, they do pick up things very quickly. You know, dogs are a lot smarter than we believe. So if your dog is frustrating you, go take a walk, take a deep breath and relax. Watch videos on my YouTube channel or anybody's YouTube channel. Now, getting back to, you know, Google and, you know, watching things on YouTube or Google and getting so much advice, My recommendation is follow one trainer all the way through, and follow their complete philosophy, because you'll get the dog trained. Some systems and techniques and methodology will work better than others, or faster or slower, but just stick to one. Don't drive yourself crazy and treat it as though it's a smorgasbord, you're at Chinese buffet. Just order the full meal and start at the appetizer and go all the way through dessert with that one meal. Anyway, I don't think there are any more questions unless I missed some, and I sure hope that I didn't. I really want to thank you guys for tuning in. As always, it was a pleasure. And we will see you next Thursday at 1:30. And we are going to release a new social media calendar where we're going to be accessing Instagram. We're going to go on MeWe and a few other social media platforms. So you'll be able to catch us live pretty much 4 days a week, I'll say. Anyway, have a great day, everybody. Stay safe and all wonderful things until next week. Take care. Thanks.